If you're interested in the Pit Boss pellet grill, take it from somebody who's been using one for about the last 8 years. If you want to switch from gas, just do it. Now, one of the main concerns that a lot of people have are pellets and how many pellets you're going to chew through. One bag of pellets is very comparable to a tank of propane, and it's a whole heck of a lot easier to find the pellets now than it was in the past. Just about any hardware or place that sells barbecues has pellets available. I do recommend sticking with brand name pellets as they don't have any additives. I know Pit Bosses don't. It is strictly wood. There's no binders or anything else in there. So it is just wood that you're burning. Filling the hopper is super easy and it lasts for quite some time. The only time that you chew through pellets pretty good is if you're slapping a pizza stone on and you're cranking the heat at a higher temp for a longer period of time, you're going to go through the pellets much faster. But then again, the same can be said for gas. If you're trying to sear at insanely high temperatures, it's going to use quite a bit more propane than if you're just running on low and slow temperatures. Now, one of the things that I forgot to do, or that I didn't learn until last year, was the smoke feature of the Pit Boss. Now, for whatever reason, I'm not sure if I thought it was just for lighting the barbecue, but the smoke feature does just that. When you're lighting the barbecue, it smokes like crazy. So I thought it was a joke, and I became an idiot for not knowing that there's other things that were going on here. Anyway, during the smoke feature, if you put your slab of meat on this grill, it'll cycle between on and off based on whatever the P setting is down on the grill. Now, the higher the P setting, the lower the temperature. Sorry, Pit Boss, the logic here, I don't get you. I know it's for a delay time, but really we couldn't just set that up in reverse so that if you need a higher temp for your smoke, use a higher P setting. Whatever, it's reverse logic. So anyway, what you do is you just turn the barbecue to smoke and you let it sit there. You throw your slab of meat on and you can leave this unattended very reliably. I've done chicken, pork, beef, sausages, whatever on this with a smoke setting, and at most you need to check it once every hour. At most. A lot of the times I'll leave it there for an hour and a half, 2 hours completely unattended, and I have no concern about burning or charring the bottom part of the meat. Now, how many of you gas grill users can say that you can do that? I've never, and I've grilled with hundreds of gas barbecues that are supposedly extremely high quality, whatever. If you've got a gas grill, you're constantly, looking underneath that lid and making sure that you haven't started a small city block fire on your meat. You just have to babysit it a lot more. So that's the first thing that you're going to notice if you do switch over to a pellet grill, is you can throw a slab of meat on here, close the lid, and leave it alone. You'll get better cooking results than if you're constantly trying to babysit this stuff. It takes a while to trust the barbecue, and you're going to find the same thing if you switch over. You're going to want to be peeking and whatever. Don't. Once you know what the cook time is, for us, we make burgers at home and we vacuum seal them, put them in the freezer. I know somebody's going to be whining here about never freeze meat. Trust me, actually, the burgers are better when they're frozen on the initial recook than they are when they're fresh. So, whatever myth that is. Anyway, you take these patties, and I already know what the cook time is. As soon as I hit the barbecue to smoke and it lights up, burgers go on immediately. As soon as the barbecue lights, turn it to 350, close the lid, set a timer for 10 minutes. Come back, flip them, set the timer for about another 10 minutes. Then I kind of got a peek just for the last little bit to put, I like barbecue sauce to caramelize that on, and cheese. So then in the last about 10 minutes, I'll take another look. But between that time, I'm not touching them, I'm not looking, I'm not peeking, I'm not nothing. When I do the first flip, anything that's a little bit darker, and by a little bit, I do mean a little bit, you're not going to have these massive hot spots. Flip the burger, move them around. If one in the front is cooked more than the one in the back, just flip those two around, let them even themselves out, and you'll come off with this grill of barbecued meat that's all very consistent right across the entire grill. What gas grill does that? I mean, I've never found one, I've never barbecued with one. Maybe some $1 million gas grill somewhere does this, but it's clearly out of my budget. Anyway, so set it and forget it is kind of the go-to with the barbecuing like this. Now, smoke cooks of meat, if you want to smoke meat on here, these things do it really well. At some point in time during your cook when your meat is close to temperature, right now I know there's users out there that say I should get a Bluetooth probe. I've been looking at one. That's coming, hopefully, soon. Anyway, you put your slab of meat on, put it on the smoke, and you leave it for multiple hours. Then when it's close to done, you kind of do have to, maybe turn up the temperature or watch it like the last half hour to make sure that the meat gets properly cooked right through. So there's a little bit of babysitting at that end, but it's very minimal. Most of the time you just throw your piece of meat on and just leave it alone. Let the flavors, let the fats render really slowly. That really puts good flavor into the meat. I did some chicken on here about, I don't know, last week I think it was. Did a whole chicken and used the Pit Boss seasoning. Actually used 2 Pit Boss seasonings. And oh my goodness, that chicken was so good. And it took like nothing. I gave it a little spritz of olive oil on the top just to help those spices kind of stick on a little bit. Put it on the smoker and it's about a, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 pound bird. And it lasted on there for about 8 hours, 7 hours till it was done all the way through. And the flavor was so good, and the meat tender. It was not dry at all. Now what I did do with this though is I did put it, after the initial probably first hour of smoke, I did put it into a pot or a container so that the juices and the fats would render down. And then just like you'd baste a turkey, I was basting this about once an hour. I'd go and baste the whole bird and make sure that the whole bird got really saturated. My mouth is watering just talking about it. It was that good. When you're done with it too, you don't waste any of the stuff that you used. So you take all the meat off of the bird, take all the bones, bag them up, freeze them, because the next time you're making chicken noodle soup, you get that same infused smoky flavor in your soup. It's just savory and so good. You'll get some incredible tasting cuts of meat, and there's very little that you need to do. Time really does the work and really extracts the most flavor out of your meat on a pellet grill. So, as far as cleaning this thing, you will have to clean your pellet grill, depending on how many pellets you go through. I'd say roughly every bag that you go through the hopper, pull the grills out and give it a quick clean. There's a video on my channel, I'll leave a link up top, on how to do a quick clean. It doesn't take long. 5 minutes or so when you've got the burn pot cleaned out and you're ready to go for the rest of the season. Now, one of the things I wasn't sure about is the power requirement. I didn't realize that pellet grills need a 110 volt plug. They do need a 110 volt plug for 2 reasons. There's a fan, a convection fan that's running all the time, and the ignition at the start and the control module that requires 110 volts to keep everything kind of managed. Now, temperature stability is the other thing that you really will like on your pellet grill. These things don't fluctuate up and down a whole heck of a lot. It's easily as close to the convection. I've got a dual convection oven, quite a nice oven inside the house, and this thing holds the temperature just as well as that dual convection after it's initially heated. So that's a key point there. Once you've initially start the barbecue and you set your temperature, there's going to be a little spike, and then it'll settle down and it'll find its way. So if you're really fussy about your cooking temperature, wait till you see that spike go, and then once it kind of hits your temperature or your ideal temp again, that's when you throw your cuts of meat on if you're fussy. Now, the reason this temperature is so nice, or a stable temperature is really good, is you can do some fancy stuff. Grilled cheesy bread on the Pit Boss. Good. It's and it's so easy to make. Take your bread, butter it, chuck it on the top, throw it in a pan, put the cheese on top, and while you're cooking your burgers or whatever you're doing on the bottom, chuck this on the top grill, and that cheesy bread is so good. That little bit of a smoke flavor coming through on the cheese, yummy. Pizza. If you don't have a pizza stone and you want to do pizza on your barbecue, it does pizza way, way better than inside the house. There's no comparison. Even if you have a pizza stone inside the house, no, it's not the same. Pizza, cheesy bread, and any cuts of meat, and being able to smoke stuff and make it really tender over a long period of time. That is what you will get out of a pellet grill. With the gas grills in the past, the only thing I've dared ever cook on there is burgers to a large part. Burgers and hot dogs, that's it. Anything past that requires so much babysitting and the temperature, and you end up with this really charred bottom or something. I don't know. I wouldn't have done it in the past, and I have no hesitation now of throwing any slab of meat on my Pit Boss pellet grill. So, based on what you've heard, you can tell I'm a fan. I really like my Pit Boss. I've never had a barbecue that's even lasted 8 years. This thing, I've done nothing to it. It's just sat on the deck. I do have a nice cover for it, and in the wintertime it comes underneath the awning, so it's not getting directly snowed on and whatever all the time. But that's it. This thing sits outside all of the time. It's covered when I'm not using it, but it's outside all of the time. 8 years. Totally reliable. Yeah, there's some wear on it. It's got some rash, but it works as good today as it does, or as it did the day that I bought it. In fact, I think it works a little bit better after about the first year, just because you get all of those, I don't know, oils and new paints. You get that all just smoked off and seared off. If you do buy a new pellet grill, by the way, make sure you run through the break-in process so that you do get those factory oils all burnt off before you're putting any cuts of meat on there. But yeah, it's just been a bulletproof, awesome barbecue. I like it. Highly recommend it. A lot of the friends that have come down and have had barbecue here, they all own pellet grills now. Nobody's gone back to gas, and nobody's missed it. A lot of them have done the same thing that I did. Year number 1, kept the gas grill on the side, just in case this pellet thing doesn't work out for you. And after year 1, they're all gone. The gas grills are done. Everybody's strictly pellet grill. Hopefully that was helpful. There's kind of an update and a follow-up to my initial video of 7 years of pellet grilling. This is now 8 years of pellet grilling, and it's still going strong. I don't know how long this thing will last, and if it finally does die, I'm gonna have to point some kind of video to the channel here just to let you guys know, because right now it's just been crazy bulletproof and crazy reliable. I like it. Anyway, there's my weekend. Hopefully you guys have a good weekend, and until next week, we will see you guys again. New video will be showing up on the channel here, and who knows what next week is about. If you've got a request, leave it down there. This video is quite literally being filmed and edited and made about an hour and a half before I normally release on the Friday, today the 16th. So take care. We'll see you again.